All right, 240202. And just a shout out to Toby because this is my 1 year anniversary of registering for the account. So um, it took me a while to get in on the tutorial game, but I'm here and I'm loving it. And let's get into this really interesting motorizer part. It is in pounds, so make sure you've got that inch um, template set up or your units are in inches. Just a heads up in Creo, if you start a document in millimeters and you realize too late that it has to be in inches, you want to make sure, especially if you're going to use the same name, that in manage session you erase not displayed. So if you created a file and you gave it a name and you liked it and you realized, oh, that's wrong, and you hit cancel, it stays in session. So if you want to start the same file name, but start from scratch, and you don't want that kind of lingering residue from the first attempt, make sure you hit erase not delayed. It's usually a little simpler when you're not in a part itself, but yeah. So tip of the day. All right, and here we go. So we've got this really interesting part. We've got some geometry here, and then some key information for the height is this 4 and 35. So you can't just add everything dimension the way you want. So I'm going to go into a sketch on the front plane and sketch. I'm actually going to start from like this corner here and then kind of work my way down. So yeah, it's a interesting one for sure. Um, so we don't actually have the overall height, although we do have this width here. This is the 3.375 that's visible in the front view. Let's see here. This is 1/2 inch. Also have a 1/2 inch here. And as I said, I don't have the overall height. So the height is kind of interesting because I can get this height as the 5.75 minus the 3.75. So that's going to be 2. But I don't actually have the other heights. So that's kind of starting the front geometry. Now I'm going to do this projection. It's not in the center. So kind of make sure I don't get that. I may come down here and I'm going to place this dimension of 4. So when you're placing a line, if I middle click down here, it'll give me horizontal. If I middle click over here, it'll give me vertical. When I middle click close to it, it gives me the diagonal length of that line. So where you place that dimension does make a big difference. I'm also going to place this dimension for the angle up here. And again, where you place your angle dimension matters. So you got 4 different angles that it could show. That's that one. All right. I'm going to add a rectangle at the bottom. Clearly, you should be able to tell from here that I'm going to be using that sketch region option. I'm okay to use equal length. That works. It's 0.5. Interesting. All right. Also, that rectangle that I made came out a little different. That was a slanted rectangle. I didn't really intend to do it that way, but I am going to use a slanted rectangle on some of this other interesting stuff later, so we'll leave it. All right, so I've got the 4, and now I've got the 6.5. And the 6.5, I've got a radius of 0.75. I got a distance of 0.75. So the overall width from, let's use D for dimension, from this line to this line. Good, got both of them. Middle click to place it. It's going to be 6.5 plus 0.75 plus 0.75. Right, because we got 6.5, the radius goes out 3/4, and then the slot location goes out 3/4. So everything's fully defined here. Let's just double check that this, okay. So yeah, we're missing, we've got some piece of information here that's not quite right. I think maybe let's try getting rid of this one and setting this overall height to be 3.75. I just want to see what's happening. Okay. So we got perpendicular, we got equals. Distance is 4. Something else. Okay, that's parallel. That's okay. Got something else going on here. I want this line coincident to this line. Interesting. What if I really need that to come down here? I'm afraid. Let's feel like this is trying to stick to the center. Let me just give a quick peek. So that's the midpoint. So it is not stuck to the center. All right. 3.375. Length of 4, 35 degrees. Width. Half an inch up. Overall width is 8. Yeah, we're just gonna have to run with it. See how it goes. All right, let's switch to sketch region. And we'll hold down control, get this one, and both of those will be extruded for a depth 3, and that will not be symmetric, so it'll come straight out. Okay. All right, so the next thing I want to do is make a sketch on the same plane. I kind of want this one to be separate, although could absolutely work with this one here. So we're going to grab this line. We're going to use this slanted rectangle option. And I want to, this is representing the 2 inches. So I'm pretty sure that's really close to where that hits up there. Let me show you again where that slanted rectangle option came from the rectangle dropdown. Okay, I'm going to add another one that does like this. Okay, and this is going to be the 0.75. Okay. Oh, undo that. That was the wrong dimension. So from this line to this line, that is 0.75. All right, so I do need to project some geometry. Let's hold down control to get multiples. Let's also get I need this line to come down to this line. Okay, and I got a lot going on here, but this should work. We'll find out. And we're going to choose this. and we can extrude those for the thickness of 0.5. And we can choose here and extrude that for 0.75. No, 1.5. All right. Um, let's do some rounds. So a lot of times rounds work well at the end of the project. Oh, and these should be 0.75, but not these. Um, let's cancel. Let's try that again. So the 0.75 is 4 places. And then the 0.625 is 2 places. Again, using the option in Creo to have 2 separate dimensions in one feature. Let's extrude on this plane. Um, and sometimes I use the racetrack. This time I'm just going to add some dimensions. Before I go too far, I'm going to clean out the inside. All right. So, overall width of 0.75. And looks like we are coincident between this, between the radius. Oh, let's get that one out of there. Delete that, and then instead we'll make it coincident between here and here. And we also need to add, here I'll show you how to do it, references. I'm going to add this as a reference. All right, so that is good. And we can flip. Switches to a through remove, through all. And hopefully this is the last sketch. Again, I want to use this reference over here. A couple of ways to do that. If you hover over it long enough, it should stay. Or if you hold down Alt, you can click and it'll force it. And I do love the equal sign that pops right up. So let's see here. My bigger diameter is 1, and the smaller diameter is 0.5. All right, so we'll use sketch region, take those 2 holes, extrude them the other direction. Again, that makes it, it's plenty deep enough, but I don't know, the designer in me just really wants to not let it go is good enough. And this height is 0.125. All right, let's see how we did on this aluminum alloy inch parts. Control G, Control R. All right, let's see how we did. 1.8, how many? 49. All right. So I'm still still not loving something about that sketch. I feel like this height here, if I go into analysis and measure, I click on this line, like that's not exactly 1/2 inch. And I don't know that that feels appropriate, but it worked. Um, if I missed something and I got it right anyway, please, please, please add a comment, and I'd be happy to come back and take another shot at this one. Got it right, which is always great. Um, but that's a challenge when you first see this kind of sketchy, um, slopey shape. Is it a sweep? Do I make a plane and extrude it until it hits the parts? The dimensions on how to place all these things were interesting. The slanted rectangle was not my first idea. I definitely thought it was going to be a sweep. And when I played around with it as a sweep, I just, the sketching, the cross section didn't want to show in an appropriate way. It was really kind of hard to wrap my head around that cross section and find out the right orientation to make that work. So, yeah, the extruded rectangle from the back face ended up working out. Everything looks right, but not 100% confident on this one. Let me know if I need to go change it, and have an awesome day. All right, a quick little postscript. I just couldn't let that one go. Um, so here's an alternate approach, and no sketch regions, just sketch and extrude. So I've got this selected into feature mode. I've got the 3x4 depth of 0.5, the inner hole and the rounds, and then I added on the depth of 1.5 and the kind of the wider section of that back piece. Added that on. And then I added on the top piece. And so here, I used the numbers I was given. So the overall width of 8, which is not given, but we can calculate it from the 6.5, the width of 0.5, the 3.375, the overall height of 3.75, and the 5.75. So I just used the dimensions that were given and made it stick to the top of this. So yes, this is less than 0.5 inches over here, but I used the dimensions that were given. Okay. Then we add the rounds onto the top piece, and the sketch extruded, and then added the little bumps on the lower piece, and then I added this piece. I thought this piece was really worth demonstrating a second time. So we're going to just jump in and do that. So this is not a sketch region, so everything's all close. So I will demonstrate this one a second time. So this is the slanted rectangle, taking the entire 4-inch angled geometry, and then not connecting to the edge, but giving it that 2 dimension from the drawing. So this will not work as an extrude because it sticks out too much here and it doesn't come down enough here. So I'm going to project by holding down Control. I'm going to get a bunch of these corners that I need. And I think that's it. Okay. And middle click to finish the projection. And I'm going to use this great option. Actually, first I need this geometry's, well, called corner. So corner, let's see it down here. When you pick 2 lines, it'll trim them. So actually, let's try this one. So if I grab this line, this horizontal line, and this angled line, it pulls them to a corner. But where you pick is important. So I clicked on the inside, and those are the portions that got saved. Up here, I want to extend this line and cut this one back so that can do that, okay? I want to keep this piece and I want to keep this piece, so I'm going to corner those two lines, okay? Up here, let's just make sure that this works. I think that worked. Okay, and then I'm going to take this line and I want to keep it because the two dimensions associate it. I'm going to make it a construction line. I still have a dimension left here, and I will make this point coincident to this line. So I'm, it's kind of like a vertical or horizontal, but I'm just extending it out until it hits that point. So if you're not into using sketch regions, this is a fun little shape to make it fit there with corner and projections and slant rectangles. All right, and kind of complicated geometry, but if I use the feature tool and I double click, it's just a depth of 0.5 and you just see the two. So kind of interesting geometry, but pretty straightforward. So a second look at it, still get the same dimension, mass, and yeah, two different approaches, but really not that different. Just confirming that I don't believe the overall thickness of this part here is 0.5. It doesn't say it is. It was an assumption I made, and I believe that assumption to be incorrect. It happens. All right, take care.